Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Jai Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jaya Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jaya Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jaya Bhakti Swami Prabhupada, Jaya Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Vaichararavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, chapter entitled A Lot of Ground to be Covered. Prabhupada reached in the outlying villages also. He would ride in a car with Mr. Jeriwal, several disciples, and his Radha Krishna deities to Bardoli or Mio. The village dwellings were made of baked mud with straw roofs and cow dung walls and floors. For Prabhupada's visit, the villagers drew rice flour designs on the ground outside their houses and lined their lanes with clay pots, plantain leaves, and coconuts. Mr. N.D. Patel. The people in my village were very much impressed by the presence of Prabhupada. They used to say that he has done miracles by chanting. He is a miracle saint, no doubt, people were saying. So many Western people have become devotees just by chanting the name of the Lord. The people were very much impressed by Prabhupada's practical way of bhakti. In his lecture, Srila Prabhupada created such a good impression, not only on Vaishnavas, but so many Christians, Parsis, even some Mohammedan friends started believing in Lord Krishna as the universal God. With regards to all the saints, nobody had been able to spread this philosophy like this in the past. In our village, we were already Vaishnavas, of course, but we used to believe in Suryaji, Durga, Thakuraji, and all other things. But after Prabhupada's explanation of what is Gita, what is Lord Krishna, we are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. After Prabhupada conducted his discourse here in the village, the people were so impressed that even in his absence, they chant the Mahamantra loudly. And they greet people with the words Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. At the time of departure, the people wished every devotee and Prabhupada with the words Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana यशोदानन्दन भज जन रञ्जन यमुना तीरा वनचार यमुना तीरा वनचार यमुना तीरा वनचार तीरा वनचार जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय श्री श्री राधा हृदय जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा गौरनिताय की जय श्री प्रभुपाद Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 30, entitled Rahulana Converses with Jadabhara. Let's repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudhi Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatasya Bhagavati Uttama Bhakti Bhavati Nais. Reading text 5. Adrishyajili Swanakarnashula Ulukavabhirvyaditantaratma Apunyavrikshan Shriyate Shudharito Marichito Yanyabhidhavati Kvachit. अदृश्य झीली स्वनकर्णशूला उलूकवाग्भिर्व्यथितान्तरात्मा अपुण्यवृक्षान् श्रियते क्षुधादितो मरीचितो यान्यभिधावति क्वचित् अदृश्यजीली स्वनकर्णशूला उलूकवाग्भिर्व्यथितान्तरात्मा अपुण्यवृक्षान् श्रियते क्षुधादितो मरीचितो यान्यभिधावति क्वचित् अदृश्यजीवी स्वनकर्णशूला उलूकवाग्भिर्व्यथितान्तरात्मा पुण्यवृक्षान् श्रियते क्षुधादितो मरीचितो यान्यभिधावति उलूकवाग्भिर्व्यथितान्तरात्मा अपुण्यवृक्षान् श्रियते क्षुधादितो मरीचितो यान्यभिधावति स्वरकर्मशूला उलूकवाग्भिर्व्यथितान्तरात्मा पुण्यवृक्षान् श्रियते क्षुधादितो मरीचितो यान्यभिधावति क्वचित् अदृश्यजीली स्वनकर्णशूला उलूकवाग्भिर्व्यथितान्तरात्मा अपुण्यवृक्षान् श्रियते क्षुधादितो मरीचितो यान्यभिधावति. Synonyms: adrishya, invisible; jili, of crickets or a kind of bee; swana, by the sounds; karnashula, whose ears are disturbed; uluka, of the owls; vagbihi, by sound vibrations; vyatita, very disturbed; anta atma, whose mind and heart; apunya vrikshan, impious trees that have no fruits or flowers; shayate, he takes shelter of; shudha, from hunger; arditaha, suffering; marichitoyan, the waters of a mirage in the desert; abhidhavati, he runs after; Kvachit, sometimes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada, Jai. Wandering in the forest of the material world, the conditioned soul sometimes hears an invisible cricket making harsh sounds, and his ears become very much aggrieved. Sometimes his heart is pained by the sound of owls, which are just like the harsh words of his enemies. Sometimes he takes shelter of a tree that has no fruit or flower. He approaches such a tree due to his strong appetite, and thus he suffers. He would like to acquire water, but he is simply illusioned by a mirage, and he runs after it. Purport? In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the Bhagavad philosophy is meant for people who are completely free from envy. Paramo nirmatsaranam. The material world is full of envious people. Even within one's inner circle, there is much backbiting. And this is compared to the sound vibration of the cricket in the forest. One cannot see the cricket, but one hears its sounds and thus becomes aggrieved. When one takes to Krishna consciousness, one always hears unpalatable words from relatives. This is the nature of the world. One cannot avoid mental distress due to the backbiting of envious people. But being very much aggrieved, sometimes one goes to a sinful person for help. He has no means to help because he has no intelligence. Thus, the living entity is disappointed. This is like running after a mirage in the desert in an effort to find water. Such activities do not produce any tangible results. Due to being directed by the illusory energy, a conditioned soul suffers in so many ways. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sargana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Dev Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Upisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusude Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarungyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namino Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charini Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paschat Tekstaya Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langaya Girim Yantrapatamaham Vandu Shri Guru Paramanam Hare Krishna. So today we continue with discussion on the chapter entitled Rahugana Converses with Jadabharat. We understand that initially King Rahugana thought of Jadabharat as an ordinary person, almost like a very foolish person. And he couldn't recognize that Jadabharat was a self-realized soul. We understand that self-realized person can't be understood, can't be seen with our material vision. And they say, judge the purity of a sadhu by the length of his beard. But it's not an external appearance. We don't know who's a pure devotee. So a pure devotee is seen with the ears, not with the eyes. Prabhupada says a fool is not identified unless he speaks. So similarly, pure devotee, when he speaks, then we can understand that he's a pure devotee. And just hearing that few words that initially that Jadabharat spoke, Maharaj Raghugana could recognize that he was a pure devotee. And he realized this mistake of having insulted him. So he immediately got down from his palanquin and fell on the floor. And it's described that he put his head on the lotus feet of Jadabharat. And for a king, that's the highest expression of humility, because on his head sits the crown. It represents him as the ruler of the entire land. And he's given up that crown for the lotus feet of Maharaj Raghugana, which symbolizes ultimate surrender. And we understand how Arjuna, the same thing, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidhi, Pranipate, Pariprasne. So the Pranipat, the Prakrishta Rupa and Nipat, the complete surrender that is required in order for the spiritual knowledge to be transmitted. And once he did that, Jadabharat became pleased, and then he also made submissive inquiries. Jadabharat started giving him this transcendental knowledge, covering the topics of Sambandha, Avideya, and Prayojana. What was his eternal position? What's his duty? What is the absolute truth? And then finally, he speaks about the absolute truth, the Param Satya. And then he talks about how to understand this absolute truth. It's described this absolute truth cannot be understood by mundane scholarship, not by just reading so many tikas or commentaries. This absolute truth can only be understood through the mercy of the pure devotee. So he describes in that verse, Mahatpada Rajobhishekam, by taking the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotees. That is the only way one can understand this absolute truth. And Jadabharat went on to describe how this is not theoretical. He himself had done it in his previous life, as when he came as a deer. He had the association of the saintly persons, kept away from other deers because he associated with the saintly person, and took the instructions and smeared his body with the instructions. So the Mahatpada Rajobhishekam, the dust of the lotus feet, not literally the dust of the lotus feet. And we see many times sentimentally everyone's touching the lotus feet of the pure devotee, or after he walks. You can see in India, everyone's touching the floor and putting it to their head. That's one type of dust. But the real dust that we're after is the instructions that are left behind by the pure devotee. So he explains how he took this dust upon his body and how he understood the absolute truth. So hearing this, Maharaj Rahugana, we hear some spiritual instructions. Just like Arjuna, when Krishna gave him the instructions and he told him, you contemplate, you decide what to do, and immediately Arjuna said, okay, now I'll fight. So similarly, after hearing these instructions, an ideal disciple will start following them immediately. And that's what Maharaj Rahugana did. So he decided, okay, I'm going to smear my body with the dust, the lotus feet of Maharaj Jadabharat. So immediately he started, because the dust refers to the instructions, so he started asking him for more instruction. And here, so different we find in the previous canto. Narada Muni was instructing a king, King Prachinabarishad. And to that king, he had to, so according to the person, he had to give different instructions. Narada Muni instructed many different people throughout the scriptures. And different people, he had different instructions according to their nature. And King Prachinabarishad was such an exalted king, accustomed to so much sense gratification. So he couldn't tell him immediately, you're a fool, give up all. So he had to tell him the allegorical story of King Puranjana and the city of nine gates. And finally, he told him, after all that, he said, no, you are this Puranjana. So he couldn't have told him immediately because he was a king. So similarly here, Jarabharat's choosing a different way to preach to Maharaj Rahugana. And he talks about this allegorical story of the forest, referring to the material world. And so in this forest, the forest isn't usually a very comfortable place. Lots of plunderers, ferocious animals. Described here the jackals, tigers. In previous verses, they talked about the plunderers, the senses and the mind. And the ferocious animals are compared to the spouse or the wife, the children, the relatives. And here we talk about another type of disturbance. There are mosquitoes, owls. Now, this particular verse talks about crickets, genie. Prabhupada also describes are a kind of bee. And the crickets, generally, you can't see them, but you can hear them. They create a lot of disturbance. And this is compared to the backbiting of envious people. So in this material world, we understand that the main cause for our taking birth in this material world is envy. That's the root cause, because we are envious of Krishna. Bhagavad Gita described Icha Dvesha Samutena. Icha means desire, to lord it over material nature. And Dvesha is described also as envy. So why should Krishna be the only enjoyer? Why should Krishna be the all in all? Why can't I be the supreme enjoyer? So therefore, everyone who's taken birth in this material world is envious. And we see within this envies between different countries, different communities, different religions, within the family, between siblings. The minute we see that someone's enjoying more than us, we become envious. How come he's enjoying so much? He should not have that enjoyment. Not that I should have it, but not that I should have it alone, but he should not have. That's envious. Whenever we see someone doing well materially, we become envious. And when we're envious, or when someone's envious, there's always a lot of backbiting and talking, and criticizing. And sometimes you don't understand that you're envious, but from the backbiting, the words you're hearing, you can tell that, yes, they're envious. And this is nothing to be surprised about, because that's the nature of the material world. So that's the material world. It's full of envy. We've all experienced that. And the spiritual world, the spiritual nature is completely opposite of that. Prabhupada described from the Bhagavatam, Paramo Nirmat Saranam. So the spiritual world is for those who are completely non-envious. Prabhupada also mentions that this society is to create non-enviousness. But so why should us become non-envious? Because they know that everything belongs to Krishna. And it's described, whatever is allotted cannot be blotted. So whatever is due, what's your due that belongs to you. So someone's enjoying more, someone is more opulence, that is due to their karma. So we understand it that way, and we're not envious. Well, devotees are generally not supposed to be envious of, and that's one of the qualities of a devotee. It's described in Sadgoswami Ashtakam about the Goswamis. Srinivasacharya describes Dhira Dhira Jana Priya Priya Karo Nirmatsaranam Pujita. So because these pure devotees, the Goswamis, they are completely non-envious. So they become dear to both the Dhira and the Adhiras, the saintly person as well as the demoniac people. Everyone loves them because they have no envy. And that's a pure devotee. That's one of the ornaments of a pure devotee. He is friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. But this envy is very deep-rooted. This is the main reason we ended up in this material world. So for many lifetimes we have this envy following. Very difficult to give up. Srimad Bhagavatam, we see many examples of persons who have been envious. We see Daksha, envious of Lord Shiva, ended up with a bit of a goat. Lord Indra, many times, been envious of Krishna himself. And in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, there's so many pastimes of devotees who have been envious of other devotees of the Lord himself. With Amoga, who was envious of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, criticized him for eating so much. Gopal Chapala, who was envious of Srivas Thakur, because he was not allowed to be admitted to the nocturnal kirtans in Srivas Anga. Gopal Chakravarti and Haridas Thakur, and he lost his nose to leprosy. And Ramchandrapuri criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's like this, it's not, envy is something very deep-rooted. And even when you're practicing devotional service, that envy can come up. If not gross, it would be subtle. And we also see very nice examples of how devotees should be non-envious. So when we see someone, again, because this is deep-rooted in our heart when we are doing devotional service, the practice of devotional service, we tend to, see some devotees progressing very quickly and we have some envy. Someone's doing so nicely, it's a particular service, and we feel envious and we start criticizing. So in many ways, we keep saying that we become envious. We see from different, like from Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can see some examples of how devotees behave when other devotees are progressing. One particular pastime that stuck to my mind was in pastime of King Prataparudra when he had the association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because King Prataparudra, externally he was a worldly person. He was a Vishi, he was a sense gratifier because he was a king. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused to associate with him because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not associate with materialistic people and women. But he pacified him by showing mercy to his son, because it's in the son is non-different, it's an expansion of the father. But Maharaj Prataparudra always had this desire in his heart that he wanted to have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy personally. And the devotees, they facilitated this. So once when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was resting in the gardens during the Ratha Yatra time, so the devotees told him, look, he'll be resting there. You dress up, give up the clothes of a king, just wear simple dhoti kurta, and you go there and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be lying down, massage his feet and sing the particular verses from Gopiki. So King Prataparudra did exactly as he was told by these devotees. He went there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in ecstasy. He was lying down. He didn't know who had come, who was massaging him. The King Prataparudra started massaging his lotus feet. And as he was massaging, he was singing these verses from Gopi Geet, Tava Katamritam. As he sang that verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up in ecstasy. And then he started hugging King Prataparudra. King Prataparudra was ecstatic. This is what he was waiting for his whole life. And immediately after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him, he asked him, "Who are you?" And King Prataparudra said, "I am the servant of your servant." He didn't say, "I am King Prataparudra." That is our constitutional position. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so happy. And seeing this exchange, all the devotees, they became so happy for King Prataparudra. And there Prabhupada explains that how devotees are. The words Prabhupada says, he says, this is the characteristic of a Vaishnava. He is never envious if one receives the mercy and strength of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A pure Vaishnava is happy to see a person elevated in devotional service. So when someone's getting the mercy of the Lord, we don't feel envious, but we feel happy for that person. When the materialistic tendency is, it's like a pyramid. There can only be one person at the top. There can only be one CEO of a company, so everyone's competing. Whereas the spiritual life is different. Everyone can go back to God. Just because one person's going doesn't mean the other person is going to do so. It's open to everyone, so there's no need for enviousness. And we can see if someone's doing the service very nicely, if someone's progressing, we can understand that he has the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we can see how can I assist that person in his service so that I can also receive the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Once Srila devotees were, this was described by Prabhupada's disciple, who was a Kirtaniya, saying that Namaste Namaste. Right? No, famous Kirtaniya, Vayasaki Prabhu. So he was, once he was in Singapore, he was describing how there's this particular devotee that seemed to be getting a lot of mercy from Prabhupada. And the devotees went to complain to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, this devotee, he seems to be getting more mercy than the rest of us. And then Prabhupada said, no, I'm giving my mercy equally to everyone. It's just that he is taking it more than you're all taking. So Prabhupada's mercy, the Guru's mercy, Krishna's mercy is equal to everyone, but it's just how much we take it, how much we fulfill the instructions. So when someone is progressing, then we're not envious of that person. We understand that he's taking that mercy more, fulfilling the instructions of the spiritual master. So he's progressing, and we become inspired. Something else came to mind. So in this way, devotees, when we see other devotees progress, we do not become envious, but instead we understand that that is the mercy of, they are getting the mercy of Krishna, and just because they are getting it doesn't mean we can't get it. We're not bereft. And this envy is very dangerous because it destroys bhakti. It leads to aparadha, offense, criticizing devotees. And how to overcome this envy? Few things. Prabhupada says just chant Hare Krishna. You can overcome envy. Because when you chant Hare Krishna, it cleanses the heart of all the unwanted desires, the anarthas. Envy is one of the anarthas. Also describes as we do devotional service. Yes, yes, ki bhakti bhagavati akinchana sarve gunai samasate sura. So all these wonderful qualities of the demigods, even non-enviousness, will come just by practicing devotional. So we don't have to endeavor specifically how to control anger, how to do practicing devotional service. All of this should start manifesting. And the other thing we can do is to always glorify devotees, find their good qualities, just think of their good qualities, or actually appreciate them for their good qualities. And that way we can overcome envy. There's one pastime where some devotees were asking Srila Prabhupada in the late 70s, where the movement was spreading. So many devotees were coming, so many people were taking initiation, but at the same time, so many people were leaving. It's quite easy come, easy go. Sometimes people just take it up very easy, but they also give it up very easily. And the devotees are asking Prabhupada, why is this? Or what to do? And Prabhupada very mercifully, he said, at least they're not eating meat. So they might have given up Krishna consciousness. They're doing so many other things, but he says, at least they're not eating meat. So he's seeing that some good quality that they have, easy for him to give up on them, to criticize them. But so like this, we can always find some good quality in it. In that way, even though in the material world we will not be hearing the sounds of the crickets, just keep looking at good qualities of the devotees. So in the material world, what happens when someone hears this backbiting, crickets? And not just that, then you hear described that you hear owls, and these owls refer to the harsh words of the enemy. So because the material world is filled with envious people, naturally you'll have so many enemies and they'll keep saying harsh things. And a materialistic person, he'll become affected by this, he'll become distressed. But devotees, we understand how we can react to harsh words. If we hear harsh words from the materialist, book distributors would have come across many situations where they've been insulted by members of the public, spoken harshly to. I met a colleague once many years ago who studied in Australia, and he said his friend used to, when he said, "Oh, you're Hare Krishna," and my friend used to, when the devotees were doing Sankirtan in some part of Australia, he said my friend would spit at them. Okay, don't spit at me, please. But so you have to encounter so many things. The devotees, they're very tolerant of these things because they understand, one, we're not this body. And that's the way of the material world. So we don't react to those things. We ignore and we patiently tolerate. And Jalabarat is a good example. He just tolerated all the insults of, even before that, when the dacoits were, when they caught him, he just tolerated all that. But he only spoke when he knew that King Maharaj Ragana had some piety and he would benefit from this knowledge, then he spoke. So once a materialistic person in this forest, he hears the owls, the harsh words of enemies, then he tries to run away from these harsh words. He wants to find someone else who's not speaking so harshly. So he runs. This is described as taking shelter of a tree with no fruit. So he's trying to take shelter of someone else. Maybe this person won't shout at me, maybe this person won't. But the material world is like that. Everyone is envious. So wherever he goes, he's going to find the same thing in this material world. This backbiting, this harsh words. And he doesn't want this misery, but he has no choice. So he's running after, it's described like a mirage. He's thinking, where will I find this happiness? Where will I find this place where there are non-envious people? No one's going to be backbiting. No one's going to be speaking harsh words. And he keeps running, looking for that, but he never finds it in this material world. So it's a mirage. But that does not mean that there isn't real water somewhere. It's just we don't know where to look. Right? So he's after happiness, ananda. But we're seeking it in the wrong place. Krishna explains that this material world is dukkhalayam asasva. It's a place of misery. And in this place of misery, we're trying to find happiness. We'll definitely be disappointed. And the happiness we want is not temporary happiness. The happiness we get in this material world is not described as happiness. It's described as a period of time between sufferings. So then there's a way of, yes, the old days they would, when they get a prisoner, they would torture him by dunking his head in water. When his head is in the water, he's suffocating, and just before he passes out, they lift his head up, and then the next moment he's back in the water again. So the happiness in the material world is described as that period of going back. And so it's just that period between distress. So that's not real happiness. The kind of happiness we want is unending happiness. We want eternal happiness. You can't find eternal happiness in a temporary place. This soul is described as anandamayo bhyasa. We are pleasure seeking. And we're put in a position where it's temporary and there's no happiness. So we're miserable. And we're finding innovative ways to get pleasure. Different types of, so many ways to try to get some pleasure, this temporary pleasure. All sorts of watch movies, so many different sports, so many different recreational activities. We keep coming up with new things, new ways to enjoy, but nobody ever gets that bliss that they're searching for. So just because we're running after a mirage doesn't mean the water doesn't really exist somewhere. That water exists, that eternal happiness exists, and that happiness exists in the spiritual plane. And that can be experienced within this material world by the process of devotional service. One of the characteristics of pure devotional service, the first characteristic is kleshagni, relief from material distress. So you can't be happy when you're in distress. So that's the first thing. So by practicing devotional service, beginning with the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, you start getting relief from your material distress. And a lot of people, a lot of us, including myself, we probably came to Krishna consciousness because of this, because we're in material distress and we wanted something. And that's the whole world. Everyone's in material distress. So there's definitely benefit from this. And the kind of happiness that you get from this devotional service is described in Sikshashtakam, for the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It's Cheto Darpanamarjanam, Bhava Maha Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Avitaranam, Vidya Jivanam, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. So this Ananda is, Ambuddhi means like an ocean. So it's not a drop of Ananda, it's an ocean of Ananda. This ocean has got no limit. You don't know where the shore is, you don't know where the other side is, you don't know how deep it is. It's an unending ocean of bliss. And not only is it unending, it's vardhanam, it's ever increasing. That's the amount of bliss that we can get, that everyone is searching for in the material world, unable to find. So we understand that there are three types of bliss. Madhyananda, that's the bliss that's found in the material world, which is actually not bliss, that is just relief from suffering for a short period of time. And then there's Brahmananda, the bliss that you get from impersonal understanding of the Lord, and Bhaktiyananda, the bliss from practicing the process of bhakti. And so the solution to get out of this forest of material existence, Jadavara is describing, is through the process of devotional service. And how to understand this process of devotional service, because we're all conditioned souls. So we understand in this forest there are souls like us, we're eternally conditioned, we're nityabadha. And in the forest there are also some other types of souls. These are liberated souls who are sent by the Lord to deliver all the conditioned souls. So the way we learn to perform this devotional service is by hearing and associating with these pure devotees, these liberated souls. It's like Maharaj Raghunath was having the association of Jadabar. And from that, we slowly develop some faith, which is Adar Shraddha. And we go through the different stages, through Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, and we come to the stage of Nishtha. And this process is gradual, and the way to progress is also described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, it's through the association of devotees. It is Satam Prasangam. Mama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Hrid Karna Rasayana Kata. Tajjoshanada Sapavargavatmani Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramish. By the association of devotees, self-realized souls like Jadabar, hearing pastimes about Krishna, topics about Krishna, these topics, they enter our ears, and then from the ears they go to the heart, and they sort of create a revolution in the heart. It makes us want to give up this bhavarga, which is the materialistic way of life. We're in the forest trying to find some happiness, and it brings us to the apavarga, the spiritual path. And it develops, awakens some faith, Shraddha, and then automatically Shraddha goes to Rati and to Prema. This process is automatic as long as we keep in the association of devotee hearing Krishna Katha. And so that is the way to get out of this forest of material existence. We understand that, so that's the highest bliss, Bhakti Ananda. And we also understand there's actually a higher type of bliss. I mean, can there be anything more blissful than chanting Hare Krishna? Yeah. So it's described, or chanting Hare Krishna itself is blissful. We've seen so many, see the examples of Haridas Thakur, who's constantly chanting. The process is described as blissful. This is Susukam Kartum Avyayam. The practice of that process is blissful, the result is blissful. And the devotees, you see, to describe how they are self-satisfied. Just by chanting Hare Krishna, they're experiencing all the different mellows without having to have any other pleasure externally. It says Ramante Yogina Manante. Just they are completely self-satisfied just by chanting the Hare Krishna. But there's a higher sort of bliss. And that bliss just doesn't come from chanting Hare Krishna ourselves, but that bliss comes from inducing others to chant Hare Krishna. That's even more blissful. And that's the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire was for the whole world to become Krishna conscious, and the whole world to be drowned in this ecstasy. And we want not just us come out of this forest of material existence, but we want everyone to come out of this forest of material existence and enjoy the bliss. So today is also the auspicious appearance day of Srila Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur. His pranam mantra is Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupa Gavaraya. Offer my obeisances onto Srila Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is the embodiment of Gaura's potency and the greatest follower of Rupa Goswami. Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared at a time where there was it's described as a dark period for Gaudiya Vaishnavism. There were a lot of upper sampradayas. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas were not very well respected. They were considered sentimentalists, and the followers were doing all sorts of abominable things. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he re-established the cult of pure devotional service. He wrote many books, and he wrote many songs, some of which we sing. We sing Jai Radha Madhava, the Prasadam prayers, Gaurati. And he also, because he is the embodiment of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's potency, he envisioned this preaching program. Prabhupada says this ISKCON movement was based on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's desire. It's like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he envisioned that he started this Namhat program, this in marketplace, the holy name. So this Namhata was initially started by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the villages, West Bengal. And he had more than 500 Namhata. And he had a whole description of who is the proprietor of the Namhat, who is the shopkeeper, who are the distributors, who are the people transporting, what is the currency to be used in this market. Very nice, elaborately he described. And the price is different types of faith. I don't have the details. But it's just a very elaborate process of how to distribute this process of bhakti to people at large. And he had many predictions. Some of the predictions, I'll just read. One of them was that he said a personality will soon appear and travel all over the world to spread the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And another prediction was, he said, very soon the chanting of Harinam Sankirtan will spread all over the world. Or when will that day come when people from America, England, France, Germany, Russia will take up kartals and mridangas and chant Hare Krishna in their town? The third prediction is, when will that day come when the fair-skinned foreigners will come to Sri Mayapur Dham and join with the Bengali Vaishnavas and chant Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan? When will that day come? So these were some of his predictions. In 1896, so he wrote this book called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts. And in 1896, this book was sent to different universities throughout the world. And something significant happened that same year, which is the appearance of Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada himself said that it was very spiritually significant. So he sent these books by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in 1896. Srila Prabhupada appeared in 1896. And by the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and the blessings of his spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he went and he fulfilled these predictions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We find that he traveled all over the world preaching the cult of Krishna consciousness. And soon after that, devotees from all parts of the world, he said, that America, England, France, Germany, Russia, he left out New Zealand. But devotees all over these places, they're chanting the tattals and Vedanga. And the third prediction that they will all come to Mayapur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is also the person who rediscovered the apparent space of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we've seen all these predictions coming through. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's vision was that, or this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire, that the whole world becomes Krishna conscious. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur's program was such that, what's the population of Auckland? Over 1 million. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire is all this 1 million people will become devotees. Can they fit into our temple hall? Even after the extension? We not. You have to have another extension. And you can't, even if you have all the money in the world, because the population is going to keep increasing. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's vision was that every house or grahastha should become a temple. So every neighborhood should have so many temples. A person need not come all the way to Kumyu to come to a temple. There should be a temple in every street. Every grahastha's house should become a temple. And in that way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I can't be the only gardener. I need so many more gardeners to handle. So this was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's vision, and it's being carried out by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and we are fortunate to have the opportunity to be in this sampradaya and to take part in this process, and to become even more blissful because we can not just chant ourselves, but under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada and his preaching mission, to be able to give this to others, experience unlimited bliss. And then at the end of life, we'll be able to get out of this forest, virtual existence. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jaya Gan. Any comments, questions, corrections? Okay. Speaking harshly, I can tell. Speaking harshly to devotees, but being spoken harshly to by devotees. That's what you're saying. How to? It's the natural instinct would be to be hurt, to be upset, which is natural. But I guess the other thing, in different ways, one would be not, in one sense, to be humble that this is, maybe there is some truth in what they're saying. We're not pure devotees, so take it that is our karma, but also take it in the sense that maybe Krishna or Guru is teaching through that particular devotee. I've had many harsh things said to me, and I think I deserve some of these things. But then when you think about it, it actually made me change certain practices or certain things I was doing, the way I speak, because somebody pointed that out to me. Maybe not in the nicest way, maybe I wasn't in a position of authority. So the first reaction would be, who's he to talk to me like that? Why are you talking to me like that? It's not like you're a pure devotee. But after that's settled, and then you sort of meditate on it, we don't harbor a grudge, we don't hate the devotee, but when you meditate on it, I see maybe there's some truth, maybe I could change something. And like you said, to be introspective. And the other point that you were mentioning, that Radhanath Maharaj was saying, devotee means introspective. We have to always think how much, if we're practicing devotional service, how much of the 26 qualities of a devotee are we imbibing? How much are we non-envious? How much bliss are we getting by chanting Hare Krishna every day, and we can see for ourselves? It says that when someone is hungry, you don't have to ask another person. When you're eating, you don't ask another person, am I full? Am I satisfied? When you eat tushti, pushti, and kunyavriti, these things happen automatically. So you feel nourished, hunger is gone, satisfied, pushti, kunyavriti, hunger is gone, you feel nourished, and you feel satisfied. So these are things you ask yourself. You don't have to ask someone else. You don't have to, do you think I'm feeling happy when I'm chanting? These things we should realize. So we should meditate. And if we're not, then we understand that that's the goal and we need to maybe change some of our practices. So yes, was there anyone else who's got some experience on how to respond to harsh words from devotees or envious nature of devotees? Anyone practically? Yes, Mataji. No other questions? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Abhibhav Titi Mahotsav ki jai, Prabhupada, Nidai Gaur Viman, Vancha Bhavadu Shukradasa, Idanam Bhavne Vaishnavi.
Jai.